Hey, church, welcome to another episode of Afterthought. I'm Sam.
I'm Greg.
And we're going to be talking about Greg's message from Sunday out of Matthew 26, verses 14 through 16. It's a brief passage. There's a lot in there. Judas betrays Jesus, essentially, or is at this moment seeking to betray Jesus. The story, in contrast of the story right before that, where you have Mary at the feet of Jesus, who is always mentioned at the feet of Jesus and being misunderstood by those around her. She tries to give everything away to Jesus, whereas this story this week is Judas trying to see what he can get, not just from Jesus, but for Jesus.
Right.
So that's an interesting contrast. I did want to talk a little bit about the Bitcoin story. You have a guy that you told us in your message, a guy that bought 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin in 2010, and now the value of those Bitcoin would be over
$1.1 billion.
Yeah. So we were talking about this a little bit before we started rolling. How do you come back from that? This is a totally non-biblical conversation, but like
every day you see things that you're like, oh man, I wish I had that, right? So you drive by $1 million home, and all you think is, I could have had several of those.
Yeah.
I could have built a whole commune and invited all my friends to come live there. But I can't. You know why?
Because you spent it on pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not all the impulses are worth following.
Right. So, yeah, maybe just use cash.
And we're going to, even in this story, we see a guy, Judas, making a decision that he ultimately, spoiler, cannot live with. But it's not meant to be a joke.
But, it was just dark humor.
You make a really dumb decision for something like you're choosing what is maybe an immediate fix. So you're willing to trade your future for the present.
So we live in an instant gratification society, right? I mean, we live in everything's at the snap of your fingers. Like I ordered something on Amazon a few days ago, and I think it was free being delivered November 1st. If I wanted it next day, it was like $20 because I've got Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
So if I just wait a few days, I can get it free. But then it was, if you want it delivered in several hours, it was like a $40 fee. But I could get it within hours if I was willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the world we live in. You don't want to watch commercials. If you just wait 24 hours, you can watch the whole thing. You can watch any episode of, we're watching Dancing with the Stars right now. Mm-hmm. So we watched it last night because it's on Tuesday nights. But I had to sift through all the commercials because I had DVR'd it on YouTube TV. But if I would have just waited till today, I could have watched it commercial free.
It's interesting. We have some small kids, and they are like confused by commercials because they were raised on like Disney Plus streaming where there's like no commercials at all ever. And it's weird relating to them because I'm like, commercials they're like a part of life. But they were a part of my life, not their life.
Right. Yeah.
But it is interesting, the instant gratification culture.
And you're willing to pay more on streaming services for no ads. Mm-hmm. Hey, I don't need anything confused. I just want to get to the point as quickly as possible.
Because ads stink. Like on Amazon when you're watching a movie, and then all of a sudden it's like in a really great part of the movie, and then it's a 3-minute ad.
And it's always at a volume that's about clicked up 4 or 5.
Yeah, way louder.
Yeah.
Yeah. But our culture does. It's offering us, you either trade your future for the present or you trade the present for the future. And wisdom would say you should do the latter, trade the present for the future. But we are constantly being discipled by culture into choosing the former. And I think sometimes even we can give ourselves a biblical excuse for that. Like, we're not guaranteed tomorrow, so why not? Just do that. But
I mean, I'm just, as we're talking, I think about, I went to University of North Texas. It was North Texas State when I started, and University of North Texas when I finished. So it changed names while I was there.
Yeah.
That's how long I was there. It changed names while I was there. But I was there from 85 to 90. I left for 18 months, moved home, and then went back. And in all of that time, I would still today, if I went back, be classified a sophomore. So I left as a fifth-year sophomore, and I would say
That's impressive
Yeah, thank you.
in and of itself.
Thank you. I mean, you got to work hard to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to work hard to not work hard.
Yeah.
But I think about that. That is probably one of my biggest regrets. And I would say that I was constantly trading the future for the present. I could always find something that was more important than going to class, more important than doing homework, and I look at it now and I'm like, man, and I paid a lot of money, wasted a lot of money on those 5 years, that I should have a degree hanging on my wall right now.
But you got the picture of Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Michael Irvin. So,
Boom.
So,
Yeah. I met him, by the way, which would have been my 5th year. I met him in the Hyatt Regency, downtown Dallas. It was his rookie year, and he had broken his pinky finger. And so we see him, and I'm with
him being Troy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see him with 2 linemen, and they had gone to Reunion Arena, which is where the Mavericks played at the time. And we were on our way to the Maverick game, and they had done some kind of pregame thing there. I'm a Young Life volunteer leader. Shout out Young Life, and I'm a volunteer leader. Had my roommate who was a leader, and then we had a Young Life kid with us. And so my dad had season tickets to the Mavericks, and so we're going to this Maverick game. Pull up, and I'm right up in front of the Hyatt Regency, and they walked across the crosswalk. I put my car in park, hit the hazard lights, ran in and chased Troy Aikman down. Now, here's what I realized when I get up to him, because I'm yelling, Troy, Troy, and then he stopped and turned around. He's 6'4".
Yeah.
I'm not. And when I get up to him, I realize in this moment, I'm 23 years old and a 5th-year sophomore. He's 23 and is a millionaire. So there's a little bit of a disconnect. And he looks at me and says, can I help you? Can I help you? And again, he had broken his pinky finger like 2 games before he was out. All I could think of to say in that moment was, how's your pinky? Anything I could have said in the world, and all I could come up with is, how's your pinky? And he said, fine. And now we're just kind of staring at each other. And the Young Life kid that was with us looks at him and said, I like hockey.
Even better.
And I'm mortified. And Troy says, oh, have you been to the Star Center over in Valley Ranch? It's so cool. And now they're having this whole discussion about hockey. And I'm standing there just in my mind. I'm like, how's your pinky?
Can't even recover from that.
Yeah, you don't come back from that. The point of the story was that I was a 5th-year sophomore and he was a millionaire playing in the NFL.
Yeah.
Same age, different trajectories.
Yes. Yeah.
And here we are.
So to the story. So it's easy, I guess, if you're reading the Bible just solely based on subtitles, to imagine this being like, okay, in scene, Mary's pouring the oil out, and then the next scene opens up and Judas is like meeting with the chief priest. That's kind of how it reads, but verse 14 starts, then one of the 12. So like,
Right.
It leads me to believe, okay, Judas saw something he didn't like or agreed with.
Well, if you read in the passage before,
They were offended.
They were offended and said you could have sold that and given the money to the poor. So in another parallel passage, Judas actually says that.
Yeah.
So it's personalized. I think it's in the John account where Mary is pouring the oil on his feet and wiping his feet with her hair.
Yeah.
And Judas is the one that speaks out in that moment. And so we see here that Matthew's alluding to that.
So this is kind of like I'm going to pick up my toys and leave kind of moment. That's how I read it.
Right.
Like, he's offended. He disagrees with how things are going. And rather than kind of sticking around, he decides now's the moment to make my move.
And is this the last straw? Was this the breaking point? Was this the I'm hearing Jesus say some things. He's a Jew. he's watching him have these altercations with the Pharisees. In chapter 23, he's been very caustic, the woes. And so Judas is watching all of this happen, and maybe he's growing less and less enchanted with where he sees this going.
Well, I wonder as I'm looking at the passage before, when Jesus says in verse 12, "For in pouring this fragrant oil on my body, she did it for my burial." I wonder if it's starting to click now in Judas's mind. Okay, the effects of oil poured out are probably not more than a few days. That must mean I only have a few days left. Like before, like if Jesus would have just said, "Hey, she's doing a great act of worship," it's like, yeah, cool. Like, or still probably
Right.
offended and disagree,
Right.
but like whatever. But she's doing this for my burial. That has a sense of like imminence to it, where Judas probably feels this sense of urgency of like
That if I'm going to make my move, it's got to be now.
it's got to be now.
Yeah, and so this would be a great example of we're postulating on what might have happened. We really don't know, but what we do know is in the narrative, something snapped in him because, there's nowhere up to this point where it said Judas was growing more and more discontent,
Yeah.
right? It's just now, seemingly out of the blue, Judas is like, well, looks like I'm going to go betray him. And we can see him very quickly. We can see him as greedy, as an opportunist, as a redcoat,
Yep.
a Benedict Arnold.
Yeah.
We can see all of that in this moment, and so something had to have happened. Matthew just doesn't give us the details, so it's probably the sum total of everything that we're talking about. That when when all the other disciples are not connecting the dots on the 4 times now in Matthew that he said, "Hey, listen, I'm going to be handed over and killed."
Yeah.
Maybe Judas is kind of like, "Oh, the last time he says it, oh, you mean we're not going to take over the kingdom?"
It's funny with the show The Chosen, which just to qualify, The Chosen is not the Bible. So
Yeah.
please go read the Bible. But one of the things I thought was interesting in the story is they seem to portray Judas as one of the few of the disciples who actually get what Jesus is saying.
Right.
He just gets it and doesn't like it.
Right.
Which I again, all of that's speculative, but it is interesting that Jesus would say in the Gospels, "Hey, I'm going to be handed over to the chief priests. All these people, they're going to torture me, crucify me, all that kind of stuff." And so Judas is like, let's see who I can sell Jesus out to.
Right.
The very
Right.
people Jesus said would do this to him. That's interesting.
Right. I wonder if it was just a blind spot that he didn't even realize that the way Jesus was going to be handed over was by his act, by his kiss of betrayal.
Yeah.
Because again, they didn't have cameras back then. Everybody had long hair and a beard and was wearing a robe. And so, Jesus, probably a lot of the Pharisees, he had altercations with them, but they're sending guards to go grab him. And so the Roman guards that are grabbing him didn't necessarily know who's Jesus. And
Yeah.
so it took the kiss on the cheek, which we'll get to in a few weeks.
Yeah.
That kind of set the whole thing up.
Judas is such an interesting character, though, because, it's safe to assume he was sent out like all the other 12 when sending out 2 by 2. In Matthew, I think it was Matthew 10. Judas was at the table. Jesus washed his feet, too. John will tell us that when Jesus talks about the betrayer, John the Beloved is kind of leaning on Jesus and is asking which one is the betrayer. Jesus says, "The one for whom I give this piece of bread," and then he immediately hands it to Judas. So Judas is a part of all of these. He was on the boat that Jesus calmed the storm. He saw all of these things, and
And he was also chosen by Jesus,
yes.
and so Jesus chose his betrayer.
So when I think about Judas, I think and in context of my own life, it's possible to be in the proximity of Jesus and all of what comes with that, all the kingdom activity, all the extraordinary God activity. It's possible to be in the proximity of that, but not have a changed heart. And that's not a sustainable way to live.
Well, I think maybe the difference is what was Mary's posture? She was at the feet of Jesus. Jesus was present and watching it all happen. But we talk about the Jesus campfire a lot. That he was warming himself to Jesus. He was in physical close proximity to him, but was his heart postured toward him? Like you can be, again, you show up at church on a Sunday morning. Worship's pretty dynamic. You can feel something going on in the room. You can be moved to tears. You can have an emotional moment.
Yeah.
You can hear a message, and you can be, your heart starts beating fast because, people tell me a lot. I'm sure they tell you when you speak, man, it was like you were talking right to me. And that's not me. That's the Holy Spirit that is pulling you into conviction.
Well, I mean, I usually tell people, well, I was talking directly to you. I was actually using your life as I just didn't name you, but
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Your wife called.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you think about it. I mean, all of those things can take place on a Sunday morning where you can, you may even go down to the altar and either pray with somebody or, hey, God, I want to do this. And that's awesome. What do you do when you walk out of the room? What do you do on Monday morning?
Yeah.
As soon as you leave the worship space, does your heart grow cold? Do you get right back to, it's kind of like walking away from a campfire. Whew, okay, back to business as usual, which is common in a lot of streams of faith. People go in, again, to what they can get out of it versus what they can give.
Yeah. Well, I think, in a few weeks I'm preaching on kind of Peter's denial and the ultimate end of Judas's story. But I think about Peter and Judas a lot in connection with one another, and Peter always seems to be the guy that's willing to pull Jesus aside and rebuke Jesus. I mean, he's getting way too big for his britches a lot of times, but he's always
Right.
if he has an issue, he's gonna say it even to his detriment.
Right.
But I think about Judas being the opposite kind of person that's he's internalizing all the disagreements over the span of Jesus' ministry. And then he finally does vocalize something, and Jesus rebukes him, and he can't take it. And it's,
Right.
So I think about even relationally, hey, internalized resentment's not good. At least be like Peter and say, I'm going to bring up an issue with you whenever I have it, even if I'm the one in the wrong.
Right. Yeah. Let's have a conversation. Let's keep short accounts. So when he goes to the Pharisees, he says, "What are you willing to give me?" Which is interesting. I mean, it's analogous to Mary is like, Jesus, what can I give you? I give you the most expensive thing I have to offer.
Yeah.
Judas, on the other hand, he's going to the accusers saying, what are you willing to give me to turn over on him?
And he doesn't even negotiate.
Right.
They don't say 30 pieces, and he goes, well, I'm going to need 50. It's
Right.
what are you going to give me? 30. Okay, cool.
Okay, yeah. He probably left something on the table there. They probably would have been willing to pay more. So let's talk about negotiation for a second.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we think about all of this, I think one question that you always have to ask is, which one are you? Are you one that consistently sits at the feet of Jesus? Are you one that does shows up at Jesus events?
Yeah.
And maybe even does Jesus looking things, but in reality, you really don't have real proximity to him. I think you can be in a room, 800 people in a room worshiping, and you may think you're in proximity to Jesus, but you could be a million miles away. You've experienced that.
Yeah. I mean, it's like that game 7 Degrees to Kevin Bacon. It's
Right.
Yeah, you can be in proximity, but it's doesn't mean anything.
Right. Yeah. So I think one question that you have to ask yourself is, what is your real proximity? Like, what's your real GPS where Jesus is concerned? Because you could think you're close and be really far away.
The difference between looking from the outside in through a window and actually being inside is about a foot.
Right.
But one's in and one's
But
out.
it makes all the difference in the world.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
And so, and we see the outflow of it. So what we're seeing here is we're seeing symptoms of a heart condition.
Yeah,
We see symptoms in Mary of her heart, and her heart was, I'm completely sold out.
yeah,
And we see Judas's heart that he was ready to sell him out. And so, where do you fall? I think you've got to make that decision when push comes to shove. Are you an intimate of Jesus? You know, are you willing to sit at his feet? Because if you're not spending time with him in the secret place, if you're not sitting at his feet, you're not an intimate.
you're cooked.
Yeah.
As the kids say.
Yeah, there you go. You're kidding yourself.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us, we kid ourselves.
Oh, for sure.
You know, that we probably maximize other people's sin and minimize our own.
We are way more Judas than we are Mary, I think. You know, I had this song, I wrote this song a few years ago called Validation, and I wrote it because I thought, like, thinking, man, Judas is such an idiot. Like, trading the Son of God for 30 pieces of silver. Like, that seems like such a dumb thing to do. And as I was, like, thinking about the thought, I just felt the Spirit be like, yeah, but, like, you betray Jesus all the time for free. So who's actually stupid? You know, like, you know,
Fair
and
question.
I just thought, like, how many times do I betray Jesus because validation's in front of me, or affirmation, or, you know, the momentary, you know, pleasure or fix, as opposed to the long-term thing. Like, that's a lot of my story.
Right.
And so I'm like, well, Judas was wrong, but maybe he's not as dumb as I thought he was, or maybe I'm as dumb as I thought he was. I don't know. But I definitely can find myself in that a lot.
So when you think about it, here's the good news. You know, and I said this Sunday, whether you're an extravagant worshiper or an ambitious opportunist, Jesus died for you. He died for both. He died for the best of us and the worst of us, and the ground is level at the foot of the cross. And the thing that's really interesting about Judas and Peter is Peter denied Jesus. You know, so Judas turned over on him. Peter denied him. Peter was restored, and Judas would have been too. He would have had the opportunity for restoration.
Yeah.
Had he not killed himself, you know?
Yeah.
Because what he didn't know is that he was actually playing right into God's plan. He was actually complicit in helping accomplish God's plan, which was always the cross. You know, and he couldn't have known that. But I think it's important for us to recognize wherever you are. I think being honest about where you are gives you some place to go. But man, the God of grace, Jesus, we were reading John 1 today, full of grace and truth. He's full of grace. So yeah, like I think for most of us, we betray him several times a day. And he's the God of second, third, fourth, fifth, infinite chances.
Yeah, it's good. So if you are, you're listening to this podcast, you're still chewing on the message from Sunday, you feel like you are way more like Judas than you are Mary. And, we'll see in a few weeks what Judas chooses to do with his remorse. And so what would you say to people who are maybe in that place who are like, yeah, I recognize that I've messed up. Like, now what?
Yeah, I mean, well, the simple answer is, I think the enemy rules in shame. And so the enemy wants to keep you in that place. Recognizing what you've done, that is the beginning of freedom. Doing something about it is what sets you free. And so it's confession, coming into agreement with God about what's going on. That's just telling the truth. And then repenting, thinking in a new way about your sin. So whatever you've done, turning from it, recognizing, turning from it, and running to Jesus is that's really the only way, and that's the offer. That's what I love. I mean, remember Luke 15, the prodigal son, the father standing at the end of the road watching for his son every day. That's the Father. That's God. And you're the prodigal son.
Yeah.
And when he runs to him, he doesn't say, hey, welcome back. There's the pigsty. You can hang out there. And I'll let you know when you've worked it off. He embraces him, puts a robe on his back, a ring on his finger, kills a fattened calf, has a feast for my son has come home. That's what's in store for you on the other side of repentance.
Yeah.
He's just waiting for you to come.
Yeah.
That's the invitation.
Yeah. Well, church, I hope this episode's been encouraging to you, equipping, and hope you have a great week. Hope that if you are in the place that we were just talking about, that you get in the secret place with Jesus. I think one of the biggest tactics of the enemy is to trick us into putting ourselves in spiritual timeout if we have, messed up or anything. Do what Hebrews says, go boldly before the throne of grace in time of need, and get restored, confess to other people, all that. So, we'll see you next week.
See you.